Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Day one of the Donald Trump government shutdown. And guess Republicans are blaming? Democrats, even though they control the House, Senate, and the White House. We'll hear from Congressman Kweisi Mfume, Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and we'll talk live with Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. A new Pew Research Center poll shows Americans view Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and congressional leaders in both parties more negatively than they do positively. We'll break it down with the Director of U.S. Politics for Research at Pew. Democrats are still fighting to keep health care costs under control for American citizens. We'll talk to the president of the National Medical Association what the battle means for health care professionals. A white priest, speaks on Charlie Kirk, and man, do the white folks go crazy. Wait till we show you what this New Mexico pastor had to say. Plus, Puerto Rican pop star Bad Bunny is pissing off MAGA because he was chosen to headline the Super Bowl. We'll talk with Rosa Clemente about the controversy. Man, it's a lot to break down, and it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics.
All right, folks, day one, the Republican-led government shutdown. And man, it's getting a little funky. Republicans keep blaming Democrats, and they keep advancing the lie over and over and over that Democrats are trying to get health care for undocumented workers who they call illegal aliens. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson went on Good Morning America, and George Stephanopoulos literally reads him what the Democrats' letter said, and Johnson's like, no, that's not it, roll it.
This morning, the Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement, what you said there. Let's be clear about what happened last night, George. No, George, let me tell you what happened last night. Everybody can go and review the facts for themselves. 44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple. Every Democrat in the House, except one, voted against the clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan in nature. There are no policy riders on it that Republicans favored. It's exactly what Chuck Schumer and other Democrats voted for in March. But they've changed their tune. They changed their tune because Chuck Schumer is having political problems right now. That's just a simple fact, and everybody knows that. He's trying to outrun the far left portion of his base, so he's decided to inflict pain on the American people.
That's the reality of what we're facing. Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. No. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
It does, actually, because what it does is it unwinds the changes that Republicans put into the big, beautiful bill, the big signature legislation that we passed and signed into law on July 4th. That has been very...
Okay, I can't keep listening to that line. Joining us right now is Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Glad to have you on the show. As I've said before, my Congresswoman, since is my house, and I'm still a registered voter in the 30th Congressional District of the Dallas suburb there. All right, so here's what's crazy, Congresswoman Crockett. He literally is reading from the whole deal. And John, no, that's it. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. How is it a lie? You can't, undocumented folks can't get health care. It's the law. What the hell is he, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and all the Republicans talking about?
Listen, they hate facts. I mean, we know that. That's why they refuse to acknowledge that this is what seemingly looks like a career criminal that is serving as the president. This is why they refuse to face the fact that January 6th was what it was, which was an insurrection. They are consistently trying to rewrite history, even when we talk about Black history. They want to basically tell us it was a glorious thing, or how they have glorified Jim Crow. The reality is that everything that George said, this is not about those that are undocumented getting health care. Now, let's just be very real about this, Roland, like for 2 seconds. We have seen them going into people's places of work. We have seen them going into places of worship. We have seen them going into people's schools and grabbing them up. We have also seen how a lot of these undocumented people have tried to go through the process. They are people that are going and showing up to court, and they are being disappeared. So you tell me, how many of them you think are about to say, well, you know what, but I do want to sign up for that health care that I'm not entitled to because the Democrats are about to fight for it. Like, that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't make sense. Literally, they are throwing people into alligator Alcatraz, but now they are trying to sell us on this has some. That's not what it is. What it is that they are proposing to take $1 trillion out of the healthcare ecosystem. They have decided that they are going to slash Medicaid and Medicare funds. They have decided that these subsidies that were helping some people actually be able to afford their healthcare, which is life-saving for some people, that they want to roll back that subsidy for those that are on the Affordable Care Act. That is what this is about. And then they want to say, well, you know, this isn't the time to talk about it. Well, I can remember so many times where we were dealing with a shutdown and they decided to inject the issue of, say, the debt ceiling and capping that off and not raising it and things like that. And the final point that I'll make, Roland, is that these people are trashy and tacky and ridiculous, because he's referencing that there was a continuing resolution done in March. Yes, they never passed an appropriation all of last year. And now we are at yet another deadline for a new appropriation, and they can't get those passed. These people cannot govern. I am tired of people giving them the benefit of the doubt and acting like they are serious. Take them as seriously as you take the president's tweets.
Absolutely. And again, they keep saying it. And then what got me was he said, well, no. They literally presented to us a document. Okay, show us the document. Show us the document where it says we want health care for undocumented people.
No, they don't have a document to that effect. And I want to be clear that this shutdown is going to impact everyone. It's going to impact our constituents and their constituents alike. But also the things that we're pushing for as Democrats, basics around health care. You know, this is the party allegedly that is pro-life, at least until the life clearly shows up and then they don't care. We are trying to do everything that we can to minimize the damage that has been caused by this administration as we are dealing with record unaffordability that was absolutely avoidable because this is not where our economy was. It wasn't necessarily where people wanted it to be, but it is 10 times worse. And we're not even a full 9 months in. So we are trying to make it to where as people's other costs are increasing, whether it's their food, whether it's their rent, whether it's the education for their children, we are trying to make it to where, at least when it comes to healthcare, those costs are not somehow slamming them against the wall when we know that they are already going to endure an increase because of the big ugly bill. This is going to be yet another second setback for people, and we are trying to minimize the damage.
So this is what I keep getting. Do Democrats have the tenacity, the guts to hold out? Republicans are trying to blame them. They're trying to say it's all on Democrats. It's their fault. And so what is the messaging strategy to hammer this thing home as opposed to y'all getting blamed?
Well, first of all, I don't do messaging strategy for the party. But what I will tell you is that I have been very clear. The Republicans control the White House, the Senate, as well as the House. And effective leadership starts at the top. These are the words of the current president. He ain't saying it currently, but we know that Donald Trump historically said, if there is a shutdown, you blame the president. Well, I'm just asking his followers and mine to listen to his own words and go ahead and blame him. And we know that he's to blame because there was goodwill on behalf of the minority leadership. They were trying to meet with him, and he didn't feel like it was just that important. In addition to that, once they finally did have a meeting, he obviously did not take it seriously, and he did not engage in good faith negotiations. In addition to that, we know that when we passed legislation, as soon as this guy came in, he impounded funds. He stopped sending money out that we had appropriated. So not only do you need to come to the table, but you need to tell us why we can be assured that once we get what it is that we're asking for, that you won't just go and violate the law and do whatever you want to do anyway, which is what he's been doing ever since he's been in office. So we have a long list of reasons not to give in, especially when you get nothing. Like, why? Like, he's not who our voters voted for. That's not who elected those Democratic senators. The Democratic senators were elected by presumably Democrats, and they were elected to do smart things. They were not elected to roll over like the entire Republican Party has done, even to the peril of their own constituents.
One of the things that I think is important, and I said this yesterday, Bishop William Barber always talks about this. He says that what's critical is showing impacted people, showing those folks, hearing from them, not just having political leaders talk. Your thoughts on that as well, because that way, when you have the children of government workers, the people who are directly impacted by a government shutdown, speaking about how this pains them, I think that's also effective for people to hear from those voices.
No, that's absolutely right. There was there were a couple of press conferences that were held yesterday by the Democratic caucus, because we've been here in D.C. ready to work. And in those press conferences, definitely there were some voices of people that talked about the importance of, number one, healthcare. And I'm sure as we start to truly feel the impacts as it relates to federal workers, that some of those stories will absolutely come forward too. What we have found in polling, though, I will be perfectly honest, is because of probably the demonization of so many federal workers for so long by the right, that we don't end up getting as much sympathy for them as, in my opinion, we should. Instead, it's a matter of people are pretty much saying, you know what, how is this going to impact me? So when they're going through the airports, I think the stories of, the fact that the lines are even longer, that their waits are longer, that flight delays are even worse. We know that the last time we were able to get out of a shutdown, which again was another Trump shutdown, it was because of air traffic controllers. Air traffic controllers said, we out. And they were the ones that single-handedly brought this thing to an end, because now you've got corporations that are calling in to the president and talking about the amount of money that they're losing in commerce. You also have just passenger airlines that are calling in, talking about the amount of money that they're losing. And so honestly, the most powerful people, in my opinion, in this moment are the air traffic controllers. We already know that we're down air traffic controllers anyway. We also know that we have an incompetent fool that is running the Department of Transportation in the first place. We are experiencing record delays as it is. So I do think that if, industry speaks up and speaks up quickly and talks with their pockets, that we may be able to get somewhere.
Absolutely. That is critically important. I got a panel here. They got one question each for you. So let me go to them. Rebecca Carruthers, President, CEO of Fair Election Center. Your question for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Thank you, Congresswoman. What should ordinary, everyday Americans be doing at this point in response to the government shutdown?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is important kind of goes along with what Roland was just asking. I think they should be documenting their experiences. I always tell people that the power belongs to them. And so tell your own story. You don't have to wait on somebody else to call you and tell it. There's so many times that we've seen certain stories that really have touched people and have gone viral. So I say document what you're going through, whether it is, you needed to leave the country for an emergency of some sort and you're having issues as it relates to your passport, or whether it's the fact that, you missed a flight because of what's going on and now you missed out on, say, a job opportunity. Whatever your story is, or if you are a veteran and you're at the VA and you're not getting services like you need, definitely document this. And it is my hope that the morality of Americans, good patriotic folk, speaks up and elevates a lot of these stories. So I would say document. The other thing that I would say, it ain't really got that much to do with the shutdown, but in general about the economic situation that we're in, is continue to hold on to your dollars. Hold on to as many dollars as you can, because unfortunately, every single thing that this administration is doing is really wreaking havoc on our economy, including the shutdown.
Author and speaker out of D.C. Randy, what's your question for the Congresswoman?
Thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman Crockett. You spoke about how the air traffic controllers have a lot of power right now. Are you or anyone else in communication with them? What are they saying? What is the union saying? Are they already speaking up?
Yeah, so funny thing, when you're effective, they decide to change the rules to the game. So they changed the rules after they were effective in basically, bringing this thing to a halt and getting us back on track. So they are not allowed to do some of the things that they did last time. We will see what happens. I don't know, but it's a very difficult line for me to walk as I talk about this, but I will tell you that we have already been down on air traffic controllers, and I would hate for us to end up in a situation in which we have even more air traffic controllers that we lose as a result of them, say, calling in or calling off. While it may bring the government back to the stance of open, we know that air traffic controllers, it takes a long time. It takes approximately a year to train an air traffic controller. So I'm kind of nervous about us losing even more because we know that they riffed some of them when they shouldn't have. So I have concerns, but I do want us, I am hoping that there are some federal workers that recognize their power and at some point bring something to a halt so that we can get out of this holding pattern that we're in and get back to the business of the people.
All right, next up, Joy Chaney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C. Joy?
Hi, Congresswoman. So I'm a two-term alum of the Senate. I have not worked in the House, unfortunately, but I do know that the only way this will work, this shutdown effort will work, is if Democrats stick together. Otherwise, we'll fall apart and it will have been for nothing. Right now, it feels worth the sacrifice, but we got to stick the landing. I'm concerned about the Democratic Party and our ability to hold things together. We know Senator Schumer lost 3 votes last night. What are you telling your Democratic colleagues about sticking together? And, how is your voice carrying in those corridors of power?
Yeah, so I don't know that the Senate listens to a word that I have to say. They are considered the upper chamber. So, I don't know that they're necessarily listening to me. But one of the things that I actually proposed to a senator that I am close to prior to the shutdown was that we caucus together, that we have House Democrats and Senate Democrats come together. Most people would probably be surprised to find out that we don't actually do that at all. At least not since I've been in Congress. We've not come together as one caucus. So I am hoping that we can come together and start to hear each other out and also strategize together. I think that, having 200 something other Democrats in addition to, the 40 something senators, I think it really could be impactful. And we know that in the House, we only lost one Democrat when this vote came up. So I am hoping that leadership is talking. There was another member that actually brought up us coming together. And I think that if they can start to get to know us and hear our voices, that it'll be a lot easier to stick together if there's a total of, close to 260 Democrats between the chambers.
All right, then. Well, Congresswoman Crockett, it's a whole lot going on, and we're going to stay on top of this as well. A lot of people are going to be impacted by it. And look, at the end of the day, stay strong, stay firm, because these folks here, they wanted control. Well, they got it. Now they got to own it.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks a bunch. Folks, a lot of people speaking out against this. Earlier today, Congresswoman Kweisi Mfume had this to say about the government shutdown.
Thank you very much, Denny, and thanks to this entire delegation for staying together the way we do and for speaking out as we must. A couple of things. There's some deliberate redundancies here because the problem is very, very simple. The problem is Donald Trump. I want to thank those federal workers who have come out from various unions, who stand here with us. They are not here for form or fashion. They are here because they are patriots. They get up every day and put on their clothes and go into buildings and work to deliver services for Americans all over this country. And they don't ask, are you Democrat or Republican? They provide the service. Theirs is the untold story. And so all those who claim now to have this Christian right movement, let me give you a quote that you should go back and review. It says, when you have done it to the least of these, you have also done it unto me. And the least of these are federal workers who can't control this situation. The least of these are mothers who are trying to feed babies, now facing new cuts. The least of these are seniors who've given their lives to this country, many of whom have served in our armed forces. That's the least of these. Many are living paycheck to paycheck. So give me a break, Donald Trump and Mr. Voigt and all the others who have this holier-than-thou attitude. We know what's best for you. No, you don't. You don't know what's best for these federal workers, and you sure as hell don't know what's best for the Maryland delegation. We will continue to fight you at every turn, in every instance, and in every way. This is about the sort of thing that you read about that you say could never happen in America. Want to see something? Senator Alsobrooks will confirm this. There's a big flag of Donald Trump hanging from the Labor Building. The Labor Building. A huge flag with his likeness on it. That's ego. That's being vindictive, and that's an in-your-face kind of attitude. Now, the bottom line is that this was all avoidable. We know that. We have to keep saying that because they make it seem like it was inevitable. It was avoidable. All it took was a willingness to discuss, to negotiate, to share thoughts and ideas, to get through this 7-week period with this resolution without hurting people in the process. But that was not enough. They wanted to find a way instead to stick it to Americans. And so it's a continuing resolution now that finds a way to increase many of the terrible experiences that people are having by increasing the pain. It wasn't that tough to be able to do 3 simple things: stop the cuts, lower the cost, and save health care in this nation. It was just a 7-week continuing resolution. But when you get on your horse, Donald Trump, and tell your compatriots, Mr. Speaker, that it's okay to go your own way, go have a holiday, go have a vacation, go to Codell, do whatever you want to do. You don't have to worry about coming back to Washington. That was the message last week. So there was never any intention at all to try to find a way to work together. We want this government open, and we want Donald Trump and his minions to stop lying to the American public. This has nothing to do with illegal aliens. Nothing. There's already a federal law that prohibits anybody in this country that's an illegal alien to be able to take any claims onto monies and benefits. We know that. We know that. And Donald Trump knows it. We've got to find a way to ask today good Americans, some of whom we will never meet. They are Democrats, they are Republicans, and they are independents, and they know right from wrong. They know when you impose an evil sort of wicked policy on people, it hurts them. I mentioned women before who are trying to feed babies. When a baby cries at night, that baby is not crying in black or white or Latino. That baby is crying in hunger. That baby is crying in pain. When senior citizens reach the point where they can no longer do anything except rely on their Social Security checks and Medicaid and Medicare, they're not doing that for form or fashion. They're doing it because of a solemn promise we made to all of them, that as the greatest, wealthiest, most powerful, most influential nation on the face of the earth, that they would never have to worry about that. And yet they do worry about it last night, and they are worrying about it today. So I want to just thank this delegation for its steadfast resistance to the foolishness that we see coming out of the White House, and to ask decent Americans, no matter what your party affiliation, no matter where you are in this country, put yourself in the roles of these people who are federal workers who are standing behind us. Put yourself in the role of those persons who are living paycheck to paycheck. Put yourself in the position of having an opportunity to make an influence and to change things. Call your representatives all over this country and tell them to do the right thing. Don't buy the hype, because the hype is for fools. I want to, if I might, bring forward somebody who needs no introduction, the chairman of or ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, and one who has always stood strong and steadfast against wrong in this country.
So, folks, you see all this back and forth, and what's going on is that you look at the polling, A lot of folks are not happy with anybody. A new Pew Research survey reveals widespread frustration with Donald Trump and Congress. That's right. This new polling data comes out. Trump's approval rating stands at 40%, with nearly 6 in 10 Americans saying they disapprove of the job he's doing. More than half of the country is not happy with J.D. Vance. 51% disapprove of the vice president. Congressional leaders are not faring any better. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Republican, he's viewed unfavorably by 38%. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, 56%. 56% of Americans say they ain't never even heard of him. Democrats are increasingly critical of their own leaders. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, seeing rising disapproval. Schumer's favorability among Democrats has notably declined over the past year. Jocelyn Kelly, Director of Politics Research at Pew, joins us right now. Glad to have you here. So, Jocelyn, what the hell's going on? Folks just pissed at everybody?
Yeah, voters, Americans have not been particularly happy with American leaders for a long time. And we're seeing it today, and this shutdown is happening against that backdrop. And some of it is because Americans haven't really seen Congress and our government work as well as they'd like it to for not just this moment, but for many years.
Okay, so we always see this, but the reality is they're going to vote for somebody. And so, look, people complain about the presidency, they complain about Congress, but at the end of the day, they're going to vote. So what is the polling data showing? I mean, give us a sense deeper. What are they looking for? What are they saying they want?
Yeah, well, one of the things we're really seeing, and you mentioned it, is that Democrats in particular are expressing a lot of dissatisfaction with their own party. So Chuck Schumer's favorability ratings have gone down over the course of the last year. It's pretty amazing that Democrats are equally likely to have an unfavorable opinion of Schumer as a favorable one. That's really not what you usually see. You see that people tend to like the leaders in their own party, at least. And then when we ask a general question about, whether you approve of how Democratic leaders in Congress are doing, whether you approve of how Republican leaders in Congress are doing, this is really the first time in our polling where a substantial majority of Democrats disapprove of Democratic congressional leaders. But to your question, it's not to say that Democrats like what the Republicans are doing. So there's just a lot of dissatisfaction on the Democratic side about their leadership heading into the shutdown, but not just about the events of the last couple of days. So some of what we're seeing is that Democrats want their leadership to do more to push back on the Trump administration, and I think that's sort of why we see where we are with the shutdown.
So what I hear around the country, and so obviously I'm not polling all the folks y'all are, but I got a pretty good sense of when I travel around the country. What I keep hearing people say is they want to see Democrats fight. Listen, Saturday night at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation ALC dinner, they always introduce all of the CBC members. They introduce 61 the CBC members, of course. Congressman Sylvester Turner passed away, so that position has yet to be filled because Texas Governor Greg Abbott refused to call a special election. So it would actually be 62. And out of every person who they mentioned that night, the loudest applause in that room was for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And what people say, and Black Pat did a poll, and we were told us point blank that her approval numbers among African Americans almost on par with former President Barack Obama. And what I hear people saying is, thank God somebody is fighting. Is that what your polling data is also showing? At what Democrats are saying, they want to see someone fighting, and they don't believe that Schumer and Jeffries are giving enough fight and taking it to the Republicans?
Well, I don't think we quite can say that they don't believe that Schumer and Jeffries are not doing that. But over the course of this administration so far, we definitely have seen Democrats wanting Democratic leaders, the Democratic Party, to push back on the Trump administration. But it's not a universal attitude. So I think some of it is that you've got your Democrats who are more politically active. That group in particular is wanting to see that fight. But there are some Democrats who are more moderate who maybe don't necessarily have that same view. But that's not unique to this moment. We saw it among Republicans during the Trump administration. During the Biden administration, there was a real desire to push back on Biden, and it was particularly concentrated among the most politically active Republicans. So, we're definitely seeing it among Democrats. We're seeing hints that Democrats are not happy. Certainly, with Schumer, a sizable share of Democrats have been unhappy with Schumer. Jeffries' ratings are pretty much on par with with how Republicans, for instance, view Johnson or how Republicans view Thune. So Jeffries' ratings are not particularly negative. A lot of Democrats actually aren't familiar with Hakeem Jeffries yet. So I think that's more of an open question. But Schumer is a more familiar character.
Gotcha. So can you compare and contrast the last time y'all actually polled with these questions, and is it eroding further, or has it gotten better?
Mm-hmm. No, we asked about all of these leaders at the very beginning of this administration, and what we've seen is not a huge shift in attitudes, but pretty much everyone's viewed more negatively, including Trump, Vance, Thune, Johnson, and both Democratic leaders are viewed more negatively than they were in February. But we also, for Schumer, for instance, we have attitudes going back several years from when he was majority leader, for instance, and Democrats were a lot more positive about Schumer, in 2024 and back in 2022. So there really has been a change in attitudes about Schumer among Democrats over that period.
Questions from my panel. Joy, you're first.
So, what is the nature of African Americans and how do they relate to the party? Because, I was just talking to someone today and they're like, we want all African Americans to vote, but we're not sure we want them to vote for Democrats. We're not seeing the Democratic Party, not that we want to vote for Trump, but that we're looking for a third way. And you can feel how you want to feel about that, but I no longer question people's feelings. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. What are you hearing about that? There's just so much frustration with white liberals in particular and white moderates in particular. They simply do not seem like allies to the African American community. What does your polling show about that?
So as our polling shows what a lot of other polling shows about 2024, that there was some erosion among African Americans in support for Kamala Harris in 2024, and Trump did better among Black voters than he had in 2020 and in 2016. So that we see that real movement. We also pick up some dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party among Black Democrats. To be honest, it's not more pronounced than other dissatisfaction with among Democrats with the party. But I think you're certainly tapping into something real there, that they're from various parts of the Democratic base, including and importantly Black voters. There's some dissatisfaction. Still, the vast majority of Black adults, Black voters, either lean towards or support the Democratic Party. That hasn't fundamentally changed in recent years, but there certainly is more dissatisfaction, I think, or some shift that we've picked up on in recent years.
Rebecca?
What analysis, what takeaways should federal elected officials, namely members of Congress, take from this polling?
Yeah, well, from this polling, and I think some of our other polling, right, we've seen, so for instance, Congress's ratings overall, not just these individuals, but ratings about the institution are very unfavorable. They have been for some time, but that's not how they've always been. The public, when you ask them and they look at Congress, they don't see as much getting done as they'd like to see get done in Congress. And so I think that shows up when you ask about the particular leaders, these four individuals, and on the Democratic side, Jeffries and Schumer, but it's really also, I think every time there's one of these shutdowns or the threat of a shutdown, to some extent that erodes Americans' satisfaction or views about government and what government can do and what government should do. So I think that's an important takeaway. And I think, as I say, it shows up in the fact that every single one of these congressional leaders and also the president and the vice president are viewed more negatively than positively by the public. We're used to that now, but that wasn't always the case. And I think the question is there a way for these leaders to find a way through to a place where Americans actually don't, reflexively have negative views of the people who lead the country?
Randy?
Who are these 41%? I'd love to know the 41% that who are seeing Trump's presidency as favorable or looking at him in a favorable light. What are the demographics on those people? Because I don't understand them. And I would just love to understand, are they located in certain areas of the country, or is there a particular age group? But I'd love to understand that 41%.
Sure. I mean, they largely follow the demographics of the group who put him in office in the first place, right? So they are older than, as a general rule, they are older than other Americans, but not across the board. A sizable share of young people voted for Donald Trump. They're less likely to live in urban areas than people who voted for Harris. They really are the people who voted for Trump in 2024. We haven't seen that much erosion in his approval rating among the people who voted for him. A little bbit, young Trump voters are a little bit less likely to approve of him than older Trump voters, but still, it's something like it's nearly 80% of young people who voted for him still have a positive view of him and his presidency. So a lot of the same dynamics that we saw in 2024.
All right, then. Well, Jocelyn, we certainly appreciate you breaking this down for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
folks. All this government shutdown stuff, you want to see who's also just a massive liar. J.D. Vance, this is literally what he said today from the podium. It was so awful that MSNBC had to stop broadcasting to correct the lies. Listen.
Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs, and yet when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to health care funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous problem.
Rebecca, he's lying. He's straight lying. Biden, Harris, and Democrats literally led on reducing drug prices. Trump comes in and reverses what they did.
Not only that, but Republicans have the vote. If Republicans could get their caucus together to actually vote to keep the government open, it's because they don't want to. And the reason why they don't want to, I know we keep referencing Project 2025. Project 2025 says do a government shutdown so you can accelerate a reduction in force, so you can continue doing RIFs, so you can continually shutting down government permanently, not filling in back jobs, not backfilling jobs, but also to permanently reduce the number of federal workers. So this is part of their plan. And so while it's great MSNBC cut out, but I need every news media outlet to cut out and say, hey, this has been their plan all along. This is the plan that they're working off of.
Yeah, I mean, it just, what you're seeing, Randy, you're seeing the advancing of lies. And that's what right-wing media is going to do. They're going to advance the lie. Fox and Friends is going to advance a lie. Every show on Fox News, Newsmax, One America News, News Nation, they're going to all advance these lies to stand up Trump and the Republicans.
And we understand why they do it, right? Because it works. I mean, it won them an election. It made an insurrection sound like a day at the park. I mean, their lies work because their base does not question what they say. They follow these people blindly. And so they recognize that they can put something out there and people will absolutely believe it. And so it's worked. It's worked for them. And so what we have to do is continue to play not just defense but offense. We should know by now that they're going to lie. And so we should ensure that we're putting the right information out there as much as we can, although, those people just look at one station, unfortunately, but still find ways to get everyone out there that is knowledgeable about what's really going on, because they are going to lie. That's guaranteed.
Joy?
Just to keep the facts out there, federal dollars in healthcare do not go to undocumented immigrants. So if they're saying that, they're lying to you. What we're trying to do, what Democrats are trying to do is to make sure that the tax credits are extended, the ACA tax credits are extended, which you rely on whether you know them or know it or not, are extended so that your health care premiums will not go up. If you do not have the tax credits, and it's really unclear whether or not any change right now will make a difference next year because insurance companies are already setting their premiums. But what we're trying to avoid is what could be upwards of a 75% increase in your premiums. So Donald Trump has no interest in lowering costs, which is what he said he ran on. He's no interest in that. And it's also about restoring some of the cuts to Medicaid, which they did to fund tax breaks for billionaires. So billionaires over babies, billionaires over family, billionaires over life. That's what they did. So so the Democrats are saying, you got to come to the table. And they are choosing not to. They are in the majority. We've said it before, a president, a House, a Senate.
All right, then. Got to go to a break. We come back. We'll talk with the president of the National Medical Association about what these healthcare cuts could mean for black doctors and healthcare workers. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Folks, the stuff that we're talking about, you ain't getting on mainstream TV. And nobody else in black-owned media is doing it as well. Support the work that we do. We need your support. Our goal is very simple. Get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. We are already at $250,000, so we're at 25% of our goal. We need to raise another $750,000 before December 31st this year. We are launching 2 new shows this year. We're launching 2 more shows. We're completely changing BlackStarNetwork.com to a news portal. As a matter of fact, if you're having issues with the app, what you can do is you can actually go to app.blackstarnetwork.com. app.blackstarnetwork.com. Like I said, we're making changes. So normally you would reach the app at blackstarnetwork.com. If you're trying to reach our app, go to app.blackstarnetwork.com for a temporary solution. But you want to support our work via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. That's for Cash App and for credit cards. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check your money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. Back in a moment.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the South Side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Charlie Kirk, gun violence in America, and how the nation has responded in the week since.
In many ways, it's become very, very toxic, a witch hunt, really attacking anyone who's not mourning this man.
What we're seeing right now is the weaponization of selective compassion, and people will so often don't say anything about the crisis of gun violence.
We're going to dig into all of it, what this means for the state of gun violence and the state of free speech. You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay! All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
The Republican-backed bill to keep the government from remaining open failed after Democrats continuously demanded an extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits. Without it, millions of Americans could see their insurance premiums skyrocket. Maryland Governor Wes Moore explained what the shutdown means for his state and others across the country.
A prerequisite to keeping the government open should not be cutting people off of health care. A prerequisite for keeping the government open should not be forcing people to have their premiums jump. So on behalf of the 6.5 million Marylanders, my message to President Trump is clear. Stop this shutdown. You're the one causing it. We're the ones dealing with it.
Dr. Roger Mitchell, president of the National Medical Association, joins us right now. Glad to have you here. First and foremost, looking at this, how do you see the impact on black healthcare professionals, which the NMA represents?
Well, black healthcare professionals take care of black people. The majority of who we take care of, particularly those that are in rural and urban spaces that are black, are taken care of by our physicians. And so when you talk about individuals that may not have access to care because their insurance premiums go up, or this HR1 has stripped them from Medicaid, then we put ourselves in a position to not be able to take care of those patients. And if we're not taking care of those patients, then we're not earning an income. One of the big things that we're seeing today, this shutdown can cause some real problems.
And when you say those problems, lay them out. How stark can this be?
Well, at the end of the day, we're talking about this tax credit is for low and middle income people who purchase health care insurance through the Affordable Care Act. These are individuals that we're talking about an estimated of 114 to 150% increase on average of out-of-pocket costs. For the average American, we're talking about over $1,000 in every year. The marketplace since 2014 has doubled. You're talking about 24 million people that are insured under this expansion. The majority of those individuals are poor and middle income. Now those individuals will have to make a choice on whether or not they're going to pay their premium and have health insurance, or if they do, then they're going to come out of pocket where they need those costs more. Maybe their housing, maybe their food, maybe their transportation. No one is winning right now. People are losing their paychecks, even those that are furloughed. And so we're talking about individuals that are going to seek care in the emergency department when care is absolutely required. And that's the problem of going backwards. People that have insurance are going to access care through primary care mechanisms, but people that don't have insurance and don't have access to insurance are going to access their care through emergency departments. And so that means that the emergency departments are packed. The emergency departments have lines. And the emergency departments aren't just for those that are impacted by this insurance issue or this shutdown. It's going to impact individuals that have insurance, that are trying to use their insurance in the emergency department. So those those waits in the emergency department increase, not just because of what's going on with the shutdown, but what is also proposed in H.R. 1.
Explain for people payouts. When we talk about Medicaid cuts, when we talk about, I mean, you got Republicans like the senator from Mississippi saying, oh, Democrats are the reason rural hospitals are closing. Explain to people how this really works.
Well, at the end of the day, Medicaid and Medicaid is for those individuals that have a particular threshold to the poverty line. Medicare are for those that are older, over 65 years old. And so both of them are government subsidy. If we take Medicaid, Medicaid is subsidized in the government through a federal match. When those federal matches are decreased or individuals have work requirements that require them to show that they're working, even though the majority of individuals on Medicaid are working, when there's now, instead of every 1 year, individuals on Medicaid have to show eligibility based upon this new proposed law, you have to provide that eligibility every 6 months. When we're talking about those individuals that have full coverage on Medicaid, this is going to put us in a position where that full coverage is decreased. So individuals won't have access to vision, won't have access to dental. And so the local government in communities pays a portion of a person's insurance. Then the local government pays a portion and the federal government pays a portion. With this Medicaid rollback in H.R. 1, as well as these subsidies being decreased through the reduction of the tax credit, more and more individuals will not have access to affordable insurance. Insurance is what pays the bills. And if you don't have insurance, then you have to pay cash, and no one is paying cash for their health care.
So what do you recommend folks do? I mean, what has to happen? Because at the end of the day, this thing is happening.
Well, at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to push back on this. I see what the Democrats are doing. And again, the National Medical Association is a nonpartisan organization. And like I said, there are nobody that's winning in this period of time when we're fighting this fight. We need to make sure that those tax credits are preserved, that they do not expire, so that those individuals that are low and middle income people can afford to purchase their health insurance without increased premiums. That's the first, right? And so those politicians, Democrat, Republicans, it doesn't matter to us, need to focus on what is important for the American people. The other piece with H.R. 1, at the end of the day, those work requirements need to go away. The risk to dual eligible, those that are poor and elderly, and the retroactive coverage reduction needs to go away. There needs to be making sure that everyone has access to their vision and dental eligibility. There is this 6-month eligibility needs to be back to 1 year, because that is bureaucracy that is really going to remove individuals that are eligible. Roland, a lot of people think that there's a lot of conversation about individuals that shouldn't be on Medicaid are the ones that are being taken off Medicaid. When you have a 6-month eligibility, individuals that can't keep up with their eligibility requirement are going to be purged from Medicaid, therefore creating an environment where those individuals that are eligible don't have access to their insurance. All of this is going to lead to overcrowding in safety net hospitals, whether it's a safety net hospital in rural communities or safety net hospitals in urban communities. What we can do is we have to, like you're doing, educating people. A lot of Americans don't even know about the rollback of this tax credit. So now we're educating people that the tax credit that they're enjoying when they're getting their insurance through the Affordable Care Act is at risk of their premiums go up. They could start asking more questions, calling their senators, and letting their senators know that they want their tax credit preserved. And that's going to lead to better health outcomes in our communities.
Questions from the panel. Randy, you first.
How will this affect medication? I mean, will people be able to get their medication if they don't have insurance?
Well, that's the thing, particularly in dual eligible people. When we talk about dual eligible, these are both that are on Medicare and Medicaid. Those individuals that are on Medicaid and Medicare at the same time, most of the time they're using the Medicaid benefit for their prescription drugs. So when we're rolling back access to affordable insurance and people have to make a choice between that insurance, then they're going to make choices that decrease their access to prescription drugs. And these are choices that we don't want our American people to have to make. We want to make sure that healthcare is quite frankly a human right, and people have access to that health insurance.
Joy?
Well, first of all, my mother is a 50-year plus graduate of Howard Medical School, and we're so proud of you. I want to know what the National Medical Association is doing to prepare their doctors, to prepare their patients for what is likely a long haul where we're going to have work requirements. Even many Democrats are supportive of work requirements. And it might be because there's a misunderstanding about them, but it is what it is, where we are going to have some tightening on who has eligibility. How do we make sure our communities, and how do we have doctors who are the first line of defense? How is the NMA preparing them to meet this moment and or working with civil rights organizations to help their communities meet this moment?
So that's really good. I mean, we first of all, we're educating our members, making sure that they understand the impacts of the current climate and the shutdown, as well as the future climate with HR 1. That's the first thing, making sure that they're clear on what the impact is. The other piece is that we're asking all of our members to understand who in their patient population, in their patient pool, is going to be affected by this, that this shouldn't be something that is a surprise to them. Most of our physicians know who is in their patient population and who is on Medicaid and who would be affected. That's the first thing. Who are they? So that you can communicate with them, those patients, as to how they can get access to what most states are offering those that are being removed from Medicaid. They're offering the basic plan within ACA. Now, the basic plan within ACA is not as comprehensive as Medicaid. It's still at no cost, but it doesn't cover vision. It doesn't cover dental. There is modified behavioral medicine coverage, and it limits what you can use. And actually, you cannot use the benefit for transportation that is non-emergent. That's huge. Medicaid, individuals that can't get to their appointments are getting Uber vouchers, they're getting bus vouchers so that they can get to their appointments, because we know that transportation is extremely important to get to your appointments and make sure that you have proper health care. We want our members to be able to educate them how to get on that basic plan and then work with community to make sure that we fill the gaps. One of the other innovative things that we're doing at the NMA is we're working within our AI Innovation Task Force to work through how we can develop a application that allows individuals to track their work requirement and track their eligibility in a predictive in an agentic way using AI. So there are those things. And then we're also working with civil rights organizations like the NAACP, like the National Council of Negro Women, to talk about how can we create volunteer efforts. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that 80-hour work requirement a month can be filled with bona fide volunteer hours. So we have the ability to teach and have individuals volunteer, roll out a lot of this information as a healthcare educator, that we might not be able to pay them, but we can mark those volunteer hours so that those volunteer hours keep them eligible for their Medicaid requirement if indeed they don't have the W-2 or the 990 type of work that they can show to the government.
Rebecca.
My sister is a professor at Meharry, and she spends time connecting with her students about the political determinants of health and understanding that this isn't about partisanship, understanding how policy impacts health outcomes, especially in our communities. Can you make the connection between Medicare funding and funding for residency slots so people understand that if there's cuts to Medicare, that those cuts impact both upstream and downstream?
Well, thank you for that question. CMS or the Centers for Medicaid, they fund resident slots. Our resident slots, say for Howard University Hospital, is funded through CMS. And so let me back up. When you go through medical school, I'm a physician, I'm a forensic pathologist. I went to medical school, and then after medical school, I have to do a residency. That's training in a specialty. Some individuals then do a subspecialty fellowship. All of that is paid for through the government and then subsidized through that local hospital. Well, when you have decreased available dollars in CMS, in Medicare, and particularly Medicare, then you have the potential to have decreased dollars within the residency slots. That's a big deal because our residents don't get paid a lot of dollars. They work very long hours and get paid low wages. And this is important as we try to create an environment of equity within our pay scale among our residents. One of the other things within HR 1 that this kind of points to as well is the impact on healthcare workforce. That in HR 1, graduate borrowers, graduate programs are limited to the amount of federal loans that they can actually borrow, $150,000 for professional programs. When we know most medical schools are beyond $300,000, mine was closer to $200,000 in my loans. If I didn't have the opportunity to borrow money to be able to go to medical school, then I wouldn't have been able to go to medical school. And so those are the types of things that are in this bill, that are in the work of some of these politicians when you talk about political determinants of health, that lead to poor outcomes because we know that there are better outcomes for individuals who their physicians look like them, particularly Black and brown individuals. Our patients do better with culturally competent care that's provided by individuals that look like them. And when you don't have access to proper dollars through Medicare for residency programs, and when medical students can't borrow dollars, aren't coming from money that somebody can put up $100,000 for you to go to medical school, then this limits the outcomes of our patients. Our patients will die. I often say that I see failed policy on my autopsy table, and individuals will die if we're not extremely directed and intentional about our advocacy for these cuts to not take place, as well as for Medicaid to stay in place.
All right. Well, Doc, we certainly appreciate you joining us, breaking all of this down, Dr. Mitchell, and hopefully people are more educated about the reality of healthcare in the country.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Roland.
Thanks a bunch, folks. We come back. A white pastor in New Mexico speaks about Charlie Kirk, and man, these white folks go crazy with him calling out white Christian nationalism. We have that for you right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
So, folks, we've been featuring a lot of these preachers who've been making comments from the pulpit after the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Well, I was on Instagram and I came across Brian Suave. He's a senior pastor of Refuge Church in Ogden, Utah, and the founder of St. Brendan's Classical Christian Academy, the president of the New Christian Dome Press. On his podcast, so first of all, I'm not gonna go to that one first. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that one for tomorrow, because that's just a straight up racist. So I'm gonna deal with him tomorrow, okay? So let me deal with this one here, all right? So the Reverend Mike Engel, the rector of Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico, okay, was condemning the racist rhetoric of Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. And so he was speaking from the pulpit and he called him exactly what he said. And people got really upset. Check this out.
Political violence reared its ugly head yet again. I did not agree with Charlie Kirk on almost anything. I found many of the things that Charlie Kirk had to say deeply troubling. But Charlie Kirk did not deserve to become a victim of our gun violence epidemic. And neither did the Democratic lawmakers who were assassinated earlier this summer in Minnesota. Lawmakers in New Mexico didn't deserve to have their houses shot at. We are living in a moment when political violence is becoming too common. Violence motivated by politics is dangerous. It is a tough cycle to escape. And there's a theological dimension to the state of our politics. Friends, we live in a world with a strong background theology. And it's a theology of division, a theology content to sacrifice outsiders for the sake of insider groups. This background theology says that God blesses certain categories of people at the expense of others. This background theology tells us that God blesses America at the expense of other nations. God blesses Israel at the expense of Palestine. God blesses men at the expense of women. God blesses heterosexual marriage at the expense of LGBTQ+ rights. God blesses Christians at the expense of Muslims. God blesses progressives at the expense of conservatives. Ooh. See, I switched it on you, didn't I? And that's because this background theology, it doesn't neatly align with one side or another in our divided country. Background theology is like background radiation. It infects everything. The logic of our time is not that different from the logic of Jesus's time. One of my favorite responses to the logic of our days, one of the best words of wisdom I know about defying the logic of your age, comes from the poet Wendell Berry. It's from a poem called Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. If you don't know it, I commend the whole poem to you, but I want to read just a few lines. Berry tells us when the world's logic is strong and violent, every day, do something that won't compute. Love someone who does not deserve it. Denounce the government and embrace the flag. Hope to live in that free republic for which it stands. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Put your faith in the 2 inches of humus that will build under the trees every 1,000 years. Expect the end of the world. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. As soon as the generals and politicos can predict the motions of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the false trail, the way you didn't go. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection. There's more to the poem, but you get the gist. Lose your mind. Make no sense. When the logic of the world is pain, when the logic of the world is violence, be illogical. Traffic in the nonsense of the gospel, in love, in mercy, in searching out the lost. Jesus came to interrupt our whole system of sacrifice, our willingness to lose a few for the benefit of the many. Jesus' life, death, and resurrection is a judgment that says that to Jesus, no sheep, no citizen, no party, no country, no class of people is above any other. We don't sacrifice some to make life easier for others. To Jesus, everyone matters. Every single one.
Well, the right wing was not happy with what he had to say, and so he went back to the pulpit to tell his parishioners about the hate he received.
A couple weeks ago in my sermon, I poked a bear. In the sermon 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that I did not agree with Charlie Kirk. I found much of Kirk's rhetoric deeply troubling. And I said Charlie Kirk did not deserve to become a victim of America's gun violence epidemic. Now, in the congregation, I saw mostly nodding heads, a lot of agreement. It wasn't in the congregation that I poked the bear. The bear appeared when we posted a clip of that sermon online. Thousands of comments flooded in. For disagreeing with Charlie Kirk, I was accused of not knowing Christianity, of being a false prophet, and worse. And I didn't respond to those comments with one exception. Because, you see, someone online claimed that we were using fake candles, AI generated. I could not let that stand. I wrote simply, not fake, period, beeswax, period. Call me a false prophet all you want, but don't insult our aesthetics. I raised the question of the comments online not to ask you to engage there, not for your sympathy, and definitely not for you to go into TikTok and try to defend your preacher. Stay out of those comments, trust me. I share what happened online because I think it's a microcosm of our whole society right now. As much as I tried to disengage, the toxicity in our current discourse, especially in our online discourse, has been very present for me in recent days. I've done my best to laugh it off, to ignore it, but truthfully, our society's brokenness is on full display every time we open our phones, isn't it? We all see it, we all feel it. So the question we need to ask today, on our feast day, is how does a person of faith respond? How does a person of faith, how does a Christian respond when the news is so bad? When it seems like the old dragon himself lives in the comment section? When simple disagreement is met with utter anger and violence, how do we sustain our faith, our hope. I think it helps to take a lesson from the angels. If Christianity is worth anything, if the stories we gather to tell are worth anything, it is because our faith comes as an interruption. If our faith, if our spirituality is good for anything, it is for interrupting the voices that are out there sowing anger, division, and worse. Our faith is meant to be a beautiful interruption to all the ugliness, all the forces of darkness and pain. When the chorus of negativity is rising in our own minds, in the world around us, that is the moment to return to our stories, to return to our faith. That is the time to trust in divine interruption.
See, it's very interesting, Rebecca, how these right-wingers just can't handle preachers who have not fallen for their white Christian nationalism. They hate the fact that these people are literally using scripture. The pastor we had yesterday, Pastor Deese, breaking this whole thing down. The day before yesterday, I'm sorry, breaking this whole thing down. It's driving them crazy. They have been so used to dominating mainstream media with their right-wing Christianity that they can't handle something different.
You know, Roland, I think we could pull it back a bit. It's watching these white nationalists really try to make other white people toe the line on white supremacy. In my opinion, that's what happened even with Jimmy Kimmel. It was, hey, white man, don't you get on this TV condemning white supremacy. You need to stay in your place. And in my opinion, we saw the humiliation of him, even though he returned back to the airwaves. And I think as we're watching, we saw this a couple weeks ago, specifically with black pastors. But it's interesting watching these white nationalists go after other white people in public and try to shame them and remind them, hey, this whole white thing, you're a part of it too. You benefit from it too. You don't get to call this out. But ultimately, it's going to take white people like this minister to help destroy white supremacy. Because black folks, we can't destroy it. We didn't invent it. It doesn't benefit us. But for those who it benefits, those people, those white people need to stand up and they need to destroy white supremacy.
You know, Randy, when I was on CNN, first of all, it's been 12 years since I left CNN. And let me tell you what always used to happen. I used to always debate Tony Perkins. And what was a trip to me is that whenever Christianity came up, CNN would always have these white right-wing evangelicals on. And I would sit here and go, they don't own Jesus. They don't control that. And so I remember we were going at it, I remember Obama and McCain had that forum at the church of Rick Warren's church. And Tony Perkins brought up Reverend Jeremiah Wright. And I said, oh, Tony, if you want to talk about the Sermon on the Mount, if you want to talk about what Jesus preached, I said, we can go at it right now. I said, see, you can get somebody who actually knows the Bible better than you. And see, that's the problem. What mainstream media does, mainstream media, when we talk about Christianity and on the air, they will flood the zone with these right-wingers, but they won't have other preachers of the gospel, people who know the word on the air.
Right, because they don't want it to be where they're in any way challenged whatsoever. What has been interesting to me is to see how Christianity now equals white and how much is connected to whiteness. And there's nothing new. Of course, even the KKK used the Bible to support their violence and cruel behavior. So it's nothing new, but they know that is the way to make people feel justified in the terrible behavior that we're seeing right now. And what has shocked me is that we've always thought at the church to be a place that you find good, that you go for the word, and how many people have been scared to speak up. So I felt so I wanted to just clap, get a little happy, do a little dance, put something in the collection plate to see this minister actually speak out against and tell the truth and speak about good and actually use scripture, because that's rare, because religion is very much being used and wielded as a weapon, as a political weapon right now. And it's quite disgusting.
Joy, I just, again, when you watch these folks and they go on and on and on, and you need to hear the counter. And what we're doing is what no mainstream network is doing. They are not showing any of these preachers who are speaking against the craziness that we heard from Charlie Kirk or from Turning Point. They are pushing out, I mean, CNN interviewed one of these crazy conspiracy theorists and, a friend of Charlie Kirk, and presented him in this amazing manner. What was Posobiec, Jake, whatever his name, Jack, something like that. He is a nutcase, but they presented him in this, like he was just this nice, wonderful guy.
I think that's right. And look, I mean, I have all kinds of things that we can say about our Caucasian friends on the right and the left, but the folks who are supporting Charlie Kirk are actually not the majority. And I think that we have continued to allow a minority voice, a group of people who are amplified and seem bigger than they are, to take up our airwaves. And it's because mainstream media continues to feature those people under some false notion that you got to have, both sides, yeah, but you got to also acknowledge when both sides are a fewer group of people. Most people, when they hear what Charlie Kirk said, when they really understand it, most people don't know who the hell Charlie Kirk was. But once you discover what he said, they don't agree with that. They find it abhorrent, just as they find abhorrent what happened to him. They find his words abhorrent. So we have to, I'm so proud because I've been thinking some of these white Christians, I'm like, what Bible, what version are y'all reading? But we have to not allow them to own Christianity and religion. We have to fight back on that. They don't have the corner on that. The reason we believe what we believe is also because of our faith. And we also need ministers to talk to each other. I'm glad they're talking to their parishioners, but oftentimes we see them reflecting the views of what's in their community already, their congregation already. We're going to need more ministers challenging their congregation, knowing that they might get in some trouble, but using their relationship. And we know when that happened the last time, some of those folks lost their position. But it would be better to lose position than to be up there supporting false idols and leading your parishioners astray. We're going to need more conservative bases of ministers who are coming out and saying, that's not what the Bible says. Let's talk about what it says. That's their calling now. And we might need other ministers to do it. So that's the next stage. I'm glad they're talking to their congregation, but we also need them to talk to other ministers and say, what are you saying about this moment?
Well, it's a perfect example, boy. MAGA and these right-wing evangelicals, boy, they mad as hell at the Pope, Pope Leo. He was asked this question about abortion and death penalty. And listen to what he says, and they are livid.
Just wanted to ask one thing that has become a bit of a divisive subject in the U.S. right now, with Cardinal Cupich giving an award to Senator Durbin. Some people of faith are having a hard time with understanding this because he is he's for legalized abortion. How would you help people of faith right now decipher that, feel about that, and how do you feel about that?
I'm not terribly familiar with the particular case. I think that it's very important to look at the overall work that a senator has done during, if I'm not mistaken, 40 years of service in the United States Senate. I understand the difficulty and the tensions, but I think, as I myself have spoken in the past, it's important to look at many issues that are related to what is the teaching of the church. Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings, in that case as American citizens or citizens of the state of Illinois, as well as Catholics, to say we need to, really look closely at all of these ethical issues and to find the way forward as church. Church teaching on each one of those issues is very clear. Thank you very much.
He said the church's teaching on this is very clear. See, right-wingers love the Catholic Church position on abortion. They don't like the Catholic Church position on the death penalty. Here we go to my iPad. Robbie Starbuck, right-wing white Latino. Pope after Pope has been a disappointing profile in cowardice who I just can't look to as a leader. If Robert Sarah was Pope, this would not happen. Many would come back to the church then. Leo sounds like another Francis. Oh, Robbie, are you upset that the Pope is speaking truth, is not kissing y'all right-wing butt? Oh, here's the racist Matt Walsh, absolute racist. Really terrible answer from Pope Leo. God himself prescribes the death penalty in the Bible. Is the Pope saying that God is not pro-life? And who exactly is advocating for inhumane treatment of immigrants? What sort of inhumane treatment is referring to? Deportations? Really, Matt, are you really that stupid? Like, are you really that stupid? We know exactly the inhumane treatment, but they are just upset, y'all, because they just can't handle it. They are commenting left and right. And boy, look at this. I disagree with his holiness about the death penalty, but his overall point about the necessity of humane treatment of people, the caring for the temporal as well as the spiritual needs are also necessary for a truly profile look. Okay, got it. Look at this here. It's only since 2018 that the church took an official stand against the death penalty. Many Catholics just won't agree. It isn't what they were taught as young Catholics. Since and before 1973, pro-life was understood. It's about treating life with dignity from conception to death. First of all, Terry Ann's a stupid idiot. You know what Terry Ann's stupid? Because what Terry Ann doesn't even understand is that the SBC, the Southern Baptist Convention, you know what, let me just go ahead and pull this up since, they don't, because they just dumb. Let's see, Southern Baptist Convention. And pro-choice. Let's see here. Look at this piece right here. Was the Southern Baptist Convention ever pro-choice? Let's see right here. If you look at their history, in 1971, the Southern Baptist Convention passed the first of 4 resolutions that most would consider pro-choice today. Oh, the same people who they say were always that way. This was 1971. But see, what y'all got to understand is this here. And I'm going to put, that's a priest who was on Instagram. I'm going to play that too, where he broke down the history. Because see, the history is the Southern Baptist Convention, they used racism in these segregation academies to get white people to support their plans. Well, then when the Nixon folks outlawed segregation academies, then the racists in the SBC could not figure out how to get white people to vote their way. So Paul Weyrich, what happened was they saw this one election where the issue of abortion was on the ballot. And all of a sudden, they then began to adopt that language. And even Jerry Falwell later said they never really focused on the issue of abortion. And all of a sudden, that became the main thing, the moral majority. So it was actually racism. They could not use straight out bigotry to get the white folks to vote. So they flipped to the issue of abortion. So these people who are commenting on Pope Leo, they're liars because they didn't understand the actual history. Okay? So all the MAGA people are upset. All the MAGA people are freaking out. All the MAGA people just cannot help themselves. They're just like what's going on? Well, what is Pope Leo doing? It's because he's right. They're not pro-life. See, you can't be pro-life and you want to cut food. You can't be pro-life when you want to sit there and snatch money for the homeless. You can't be So when we start talking about what Jesus actually preached, that's literally against the MAGA agenda. See, y'all might remember a couple of years ago when I had a pro-life or really an anti-abortion black Republican in my studio and this happened. Reeves is not doing it in Mississippi. And so what I'm saying is this here. No. What I'm saying is this here. When I listen to Republicans talk about being pro-life, what I want to know is where their pro-life stances when it comes to Head Start. Right. Where their pro-life stances when it comes to prenatal care. Right. Where their pro-life stances when you have black women who have a high rate of dying in childbirth. Where are your pro-life policies when it comes to infant mortality? What I'm saying is when you are a Republican in the state of Mississippi, and you push a law and the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, and you are ill-prepared to handle the 5,000 new babies, maybe because the money that you could care for the poor went to Brett Favre. That's right. And all I want to see is the governor of Mississippi, who's opposing Medicaid expansion, seeing rural hospitals shut down in his state, and you got white women and black women who are dying, and Republicans control the legislature. They control the governor's mansion, so don't tell me they are pro-life when they are unwilling to accept Medicaid expansion, but then they say we don't want to accept federal money from the federal government when they send $1 to the federal government and they get $4 back.
When you look at this concept, what you're saying to me right now is that because you believe that Republicans are not supporting pro-living, I disagree. I look at the Republican support for community health centers. I look at the Republicans trying Where? Everywhere, Roland.
South Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama. Exactly. They all are against Medicaid expansion and rural hospitals. Are you telling me rural hospitals? Are you literally telling me that rural hospitals in Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina are not shutting down? Are you actually telling me that?
I am not telling you that. But
so
what
therefore,
I am saying,
if they're shutting down, how then are the people able to get care? How?
Roland, what I am saying is that there are, when we talk about aborting babies, so you're saying to me that because we support life, actually giving babies the opportunity to live. I'm confused.
Baby born.
I'm so confused.
First of all, hold up. You're confused because you think I'm saying something that I'm not.
Well, tell me what you're saying.
What I'm telling you, I'm being very clear. You cannot say you are pro-life when you vote against prenatal care for the mother. You cannot say you are pro-life when you vote against Head Start. Right. You cannot say you are pro-life when you do not want to expand Medicaid to keep hospitals open. You cannot say you are pro-life when you have OBGYNs who are not available in your state. You cannot say you are pro-life when you have black women who are dying at a higher rate during childbirth and you do nothing public policy-wise to fix it. You cannot say you are pro-life if you allow infant mortality rates to be sky high in areas where there are black and brown people. What that tells me is you are anti-abortion. You are not pro-life. Right. Because if you are pro-life, you care about the child in the womb and when the child is out. And if you are pro-life, you are standing there with black folks when their kids are killed by cops. You are not silent. So if you are pro-life, be pro-life from the womb to the tomb, but not just in the womb.
Okay.
And that's how we got this meme. Remember Erica Savage had that look on her face? That's how we got this meme. So, Rebecca, they so mad. They mad, but Pope Leo is correct. You cannot continue to yell and scream that you are pro-life when the policies that you support are not advancing life. People die in this country because of food insecurity. People die in this country because they are homeless. People die in this country because of lack of access to health care. And these same right-wingers just love themselves some death penalty, but they real quiet when black folks are being unarmed black people being shot and killed. No, they are anti-abortion. They are not pro-life. Pope Leo is 100% correct.
Roland, I love facts. And the reason why I love facts is women have been having abortions since the beginning of time. Catholicism has only been around for roughly 2,000-ish years. And of that nearly 2,000-ish years, it wasn't until 1983 where the Catholic Church actually put into canon, put into Catholic law, that you could be excommunicated for procuring or having an abortion. So you mean to tell me for nearly 2,000 years in the Catholic Church, you weren't excommunicated because you got an abortion, but now in 1983, all of a sudden, oops, we forgot about that the last 2,000 years. So all these people who are talking online, they clearly don't know what they're talking about, but also, quite frankly, according to their own Bible, they're going to hell anyway, because 1 John says you can't have hate in your heart. So for all these people espousing hate, that means you can't love God. If you can't love God, you ain't going to heaven. So I guess enjoy hell.
Joy?
I mean, I couldn't say it better. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as I said earlier, I don't know what version. I mean, the rest of us are reading a different Bible, right? I don't know. They had the Charlie Kirk version. I really don't know. These things, the things that they're advocating are against God as it is presented to us in the Christian Bible that they say that they believe in. Pope Leo is the head of the Catholic Church. He has spoken. We hear him. Frankly, it's the thing that the last Pope said about how you treat immigrants. It's the thing that Pope said before then, how you treat the stranger, how you treat the least of these. Pope Leo is bringing a new voice. But frankly, you know, we've been saying for a long time that when you are pro-life, you got to be pro the entire life. It's not just how you treat women and children, it's how you treat the elderly. Mm-hmm. The cuts that the Republicans are making are also going to hurt Medicare. The government shutdown might interrupt, delay, and certainly confuse and scare a lot of people who are on Social Security. When you care about life, you care about the entire life of the person. Otherwise, we have to call you out on your bullshit. It is not only our right to do so, it is our duty to do so. And anyone who's, you know, that's why people sometimes walk away from the church, because they see so much hypocrisy. That is what we're seeing now. And frankly, one good thing about Donald Trump is I think he's going to bring a lot of people back in alignment with their faith and their values, whether it's Christianity or whatever religion, or even just a humanist. You don't believe in God, but you believe in the importance of the human race.
Well,
I think it's going to bring people back into their values.
I'm not buying.
And I think that's important.
I'm not buying he's going to do that, because I think these right wingers, they are celebrating a Jesus that really don't exist, Randy.
But I think it's important we use that language.
Well, no. But my point is, these right wingers, they are celebrating white Christian nationalism, Randy. They ain't celebrating the Jesus that we know to be true.
They absolutely are not celebrating Jesus. I don't believe it's possible to be a white supremacist and celebrate Jesus at the same time. They conflict. They completely conflict, because Jesus was about accepting and loving all people. And as we have all said on the panel, these people are filled with hate, and everything that they do seems to be oppressing others, not loving others, casting out everyone that is different from them. So you can not only celebrate one type of person, namely white people, and then call yourself a kin or loving or respectful of Jesus. The two cannot coexist. White supremacy and a love of Jesus and his principles are completely opposite from each other and cannot coexist. And they're not using, I don't even believe that they believe what they're saying. I believe, again, that they're using it as a tool to manipulate people. They know when they mention the Bible or Jesus or love, that people will listen. And that's all they want people to do, is listen and follow their dogma and agenda. And they're actually shocked and appalled when someone like the Pope, like Pope Leo, actually is serious about Christianity and is speaking the word of the Bible. They don't want that from him. They just want him to speak, like you said, the Christian nationalism that they want.
Well, I love how Matt Walsh sits here and goes, well, God favored the death penalty. It's in the Bible. And so when I saw that, I immediately thought about this scene from The West Wing when President Jed Bartlett actually raised those questions. Watch.
I call myself Gary with a G.
How else would you spell Gary?
No other way. I'm saying that's what I call myself. Gary with a G, talking to you on KADRAM.
Like Liza with a Z.
Exactly. Hokey? Maybe so. But I have 900,000 listeners in the Rocky Mountain region.
Would you excuse me? Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I wish I could spend more than a few minutes with you, but the polls don't close in the East for another hour, and there are plenty of election results still left to falsify. You know, with so many people participating in the political and social debate through call-in shows, it's a good idea to be reminded every once in a while. It's a good idea to be reminded of the awesome impact. I'm sorry. You're Dr. Jenna Jacobs, right?
Yes, sir.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
The awesome impact of the airwaves and how that translates into the furthering of our national discussions, but obviously also how it can Forgive me, Dr. Jacobs. Are you an MD?
A PhD.
A PhD?
Yes, sir.
In psychology?
No, sir.
Theology?
No.
Social work?
I have a PhD in English literature.
I'm asking because on your show, people call in for advice, and you go by the name Dr. Jacobs on your show, and I didn't know if maybe your listeners were confused by that and assumed you had advanced training in psychology, theology, or healthcare.
I don't believe they are confused, no, sir.
Good. I like your show. I like how you call homosexuality an abomination.
I don't say homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
Chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean, Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side? Can I burn my mother in a small family gathering for wearing garments made from two different threads? Think about those questions, would you? One last thing. While you may be mistaking this for your monthly meeting of the ignorant tight-ass club, in this building when the president stands, nobody sits.
Wait. Oh, I love that scene. Why is that important? Because, see, when these right-wing evangelicals say, well, God said this in the Bible, yes, but the Bible also said all the things that he just said there as well. So how do they respond to that? Do they say, oh, that's the Old Testament. Jesus came in the New Testament. Well, then what? The Bible also says that Jesus came to affirm the Old Testament. See, this is where they get so confused. This is what they cannot stand. You see, they love to bring these things up, but they can't stand being challenged on these very things. And that's why I'm always going to call them out. You cannot say that, oh, I believe that everybody should accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Okay, so if you put someone to death, then they never have an opportunity to actually accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. So don't you think if they continue to live, even if they are locked up in prison for the rest of their lives, that they have an opportunity to actually do that so they will never have to, in the afterlife, be damned because they can't be accepted into heaven. Am I correct on the scripture there, folks? See, this is the problem with these right-wingers, that they don't want to deal with it. See, what they want to be is they want to be vengeful, but also hateful. See, again, they want to be anti-abortion because they just absolutely believe in the fetus in the womb. But when that baby is born, then what? What about a Head Start? What about prenatal care while that mother is actually carrying that child to term? What about proper health care? What about proper environmental laws? See, it's amazing how they are against the very things that actually impact life. Do they care about those with asthma? Do they care about environmental racism? Oh, I'm sorry, they don't believe in climate change. Yesterday, we just had the most ignorant Secretary of Defense stand up and say, yeah, we're not gonna have all this stuff anymore in the Department of Defense dealing with climate change. Really? But you care about life. So when you see more storms, more violent, more destructive, killing more people, do those lives matter? And see, then when we say Black lives matter, they go, all lives matter. What if all lives matter? How then can you say you support the death penalty? What they can't stand is the consistency of Pope Leo. See, MAGA loves that New York Cardinal Dolan praised Charlie Kirk and said he was a saint. But the rhetoric that he uttered, really, Dolan? Or are you simply a maggot, a right-wing American cardinal? See, that's why they hate Pope Leo. That's why they hated Pope Francis. But they can't stand a spiritual leader who challenges them on their faulty spirituality. Gonna go to a break. When we come back, MAGA is really mad because Bad Bunny is gonna be performing at the Super Bowl. Oh my God, it's gonna drive them crazy. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Charlie Kirk, gun violence in America, and how the nation has responded in the week since.
In many ways, it's become very, very toxic, a witch hunt, really attacking anyone who's not mourning this man.
What we're seeing right now is the weaponization of selective compassion, and people will so often don't say anything about the crisis of gun violence.
We're going to dig into all of it, what this means for the state of gun violence and the state of free speech. You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Se acostó temprano, mañana hay que estudiar. Pero llamó a la amiga diciendo pa' janguear.
Well, there it is. It's official. Puerto Rico's finest bad.
MAGA to lose their mind, y'all. The NFL announces that Bad Bunny is going to perform at halftime of the Super Bowl, and these white people are losing it. They have been yelling, cussing, screaming, oh my God, I'm not going to watch the halftime. This is shameful. Turning Point USA needs to have a counter. What if we had a group of Christian artists who sang at halftime? This man is the devil. This man doesn't like ice. You had this white woman. She's like, I've never heard of him. Like, Heifer, we ain't never heard of you. The man got 5 million Twitter followers. Her trifling ass don't even have 100,000. Y'all, Bad Bunny has won 3 Grammys, has more than 100 billion streams, has the most played album on Spotify. He has a global reach. He's a reggaeton singer, okay? Has sold out across the world. But Lord, MAGA don't know what to do because a Spanish-speaking artist who has openly challenged Donald Trump's immigration policies is going to perform at halftime. Then they're saying, how dare he? He's not an American. He's Puerto Rican. It's a U.S. territory. Woo. Rosa Clemente, doctoral student in the W.B. Du Bois Department of Afro-American Studies at UMass Amherst, joins us right now. Rosa, Lord have mercy. More MAGA fools have found Puerto Rico on the map in the last 48 hours. Since the NFL made this announcement, these people are losing their mind.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy to the point where I had to cut off family members that were anti-Black, even though Bad Bunny doesn't identify as anti-Black. You know, I think the biggest issue is that most people don't know why Puerto Ricans are American citizens. That was forced upon my ancestors in 1917, where they were just like, you know what? Everybody's now in Puerto Rico an American citizen, and that was to recruit more men to the World War I. You know, and I think MAGA's. It's interesting because there's been other artists that have been on that stage with mixing Spanish and English. And what Bad Bunny is doing is what we call us in the 70s to right now, particularly in New York City, particularly in the Bronx, it's just like that's what we do already. You know, we rep our country, and the reason we rep it the way we do is because we are still a colony of the United States of America. And Bad Bunny has awakened the consciousness of an entire generation.
Crazy, Rosa. I mean, first of all, I found this video here. I gotta admit, it's highly laughable. Watch.
That Bad Bunny, whatever his name is, Bad Bunny, I don't even know who the man is. I know, all I know is from political thing that he supports Democrats and that he's anti-Trump, right? And that's apparently where the NFL is going. So I won't be watching in the Super Bowl this year, which I mean, football, sports has got really dull for me. Like, I'm done watching a lot of sports because it's got too political, right? Like, all the great people that could have headlined the Super Bowl, it used to be people with actual talent, and it's not some dude who I don't even have a global or national. No, like nobody knows who he is. Like, I mean, people know who he is for the wrong reasons. That he attacks ICE every chance he gets. He attacks Trump every chance he gets. He attacks Trump supporters every chance he gets. And so half the country don't like him. Half the country don't like him. So half the country probably won't be watching the halftime show. And so it just, the NFL ought to be ashamed of themselves. They become extremely political. He's feminized. I don't know if he's gay or what.
I had to sit here. First of all, brother, why don't you learn how to look at the camera when your ass talking? How about you start right there? 2, ain't nobody ever heard of your ass. And then he said, this guy's not global or national. Damn, does Google not work? And then I love this here. So sports has just gotten too political. Oh, but y'all didn't mind those moment of silences for Charlie Kirk at the Green Bay Packers game and Dallas Cowboys game. They don't mind the politicians showing up in the suites of the owners. They don't mind the owners who actually give money to MAGA, but they say Bad Bunny too political.
Well, I mean, isn't it fascinating, the political commentators on the liberal white folks? Because I'm like, I already know what the right is doing. Right is not even standing up to protect their own American citizens in this country. Bad Bunny residency was historical, but there's a lot that's being left out. First, he chose not to come to the United States because he was scared that other Latinos, unlike with Puerto Ricans, which, Roland, you know, mad people still don't even understand that Puerto Ricans are American citizens, right? So for him to come out and be like, you know what? I'm repping Spanish. I'm repping hip hop. I'm referencing reggaeton, right? And that's what they're scared of, obviously. Also, what Bad Bunny has done is really awaken an entire new generation of consciousness post Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria. But there's also a reason why, Roland. I think this might be your next question about the military occupation of Puerto Rico.
No. I got another fool to show. I mean, I'm just having a ball, y'all. Watch this here.
Do you wonder why the NFL hates its customers? I don't understand. I do understand. They think they're too big to fail. So they've adopted woke and they refuse to let it go, as evidenced by the halftime show they're putting together. Well, Jay-Z is, well, I'm like, that's Jay-Z a whole nother video by itself. However, the definition of stupid, if you have a business, is to do things to make the majority of your business hate your business. But the NFL has done a great job over the decades of making themselves into a brand that they feel like is too big and they can do whatever the hell they want to do.
Y'all, first of all, Rose, this is an 8-minute video. I'm not playing all of it because he's too stupid. And see, these MAGA people, you know, they were so pissed off last year with Kendrick Lamar performing, and they were just upset, and they're just kind of like, oh my God, this is just too black. What are they doing? They're running off their audience, and then they were just like, this is just too much, and I don't know what we should do, and no one's gonna watch, and I don't.
Yeah,
no. Go to my iPad. Kendrick Lamar's 2025 Super Bowl halftime show is now the most watched of all time. 133.5 million viewers, drawing a larger audience than the Super Bowl itself. See, Rosa, this is what white MAGA and these individuals, I call them the help, these blackface MAGAs don't understand. The Super Bowl. Hold on, Rosa, hold on. The Super Bowl is not solely a United States game. The NFL is trying to be global. They played a game in Belfast, Ireland. They're playing games in London. These idiots don't even understand the Spanish-speaking population of the world. And so, hello, they ain't just focusing on some white hicks in the South. They're trying to be global. Go ahead.
I mean, that's what it is. It's not we're trying, we are global. And what Bunny's representing, Bad Bunny's representing, it's just not like the colony of the United States, Puerto Rico. There's a reason why he's a #1 global star. There's a reason why when you see reports from the extinction, genocide of what's happening to our Palestinian brothers and sisters, they are referring to his song, and the song literally means like, I don't want them to do to Puerto Rico what they did to Hawaii. And I think part of it too, Roland, is like, there's a lot of people that just don't understand how Puerto Rican people became U.S. citizens. And that happened, and the United States needed more soldiers. But the most important contemporary thing that we can see right now is in Puerto Rico right now, while Bad Bunny was doing his show, 90 miles away, Arroyo, Puerto Rico, we have 2 ships, naval marine officers, 4,500, and every day there are military exercises. Why? Because that's why they made Puerto Rico a colony. It gives the United States a strategic way to get to the rest of Latin America. And today, Maduro, the president of Venezuela, we all have our understanding or angry with him, but we know when they go to invade Venezuela and lie about the last 8 people they killed, citizens, is they need Puerto Rico to go do that work. Right, I'm sorry, but the same thing is we're celebrating Bad Bunny, and we're also want to like highlight what a colony looks like, but also that because of Bad Bunny and a lot of folks, Puerto Rico's going to be free a lot sooner than I ever thought it was going to be free.
Right. Rebecca, I saw this tweet from Eric Erickson that I thought was laughable. He said, the Super Bowl halftime has been awful for the last several years. Rebecca, it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about? And see, Rebecca, what they really want, they're like, why can't Jason Aldean perform? Why can't we? Because guess what? Because ain't nobody trying to watch Jason Aldean perform at halftime. Sorry, I remember. I forgot the Super Bowl I went to. I think it was in Miami. It was when the Saints played the Colts. I think the Who performed. God, that was boring. Rebecca, your thoughts?
Well, thank you so much. What I'm really hoping that Bad Bunny does, like, it will be incredible if he does a show live from Puerto Rico, but understanding that he'll probably do it live.
Oh, hell no. He's gonna be in Santa Clara. Let's be real clear. He's gonna be in a stadium. He's gonna be in Santa Clara, California. Rebecca, go ahead.
But symbolically, I hope he brings Puerto Rico to California. And I hope he really digs into the indigenous culture of Puerto Rico, because a lot of people assume, because of Spanish speakers, that there is some connection to Spain, but I really want to see the indigenous roots. I hope his entire performance is not in English, and I'm very excited about it. And I appreciate people like Taylor Swift who made it known, hey, I'm not going to be performing at this next halftime show. No offense to Taylor, but we want to see the people. Like, we don't need to see the Who. We don't need to see Wonder Bread artists right now. We actually need to see artists that embrace the multiculturalism of our country.
Well, first of all, here's the deal, Rosa. I mean, I don't care if Taylor Swift performs. I'm fine. They're just angry because you don't have right-wingers. Listen, MAGA would love for Lee Greenwood to bore us to death at halftime.
Well, look, first he's doing the whole show in Spanish, but he's also doing it in what we call Spanglish. And I also think people in this country are not aware that like 70 million Hispanics, Latino folks are in this country, and how half of them alone don't speak Spanish just around colonialism, right? So I'm happy he's going to do that. As someone that doesn't like football, a brutal sport, I understand the influence, what Kendrick did last year, what Puerto Rico's doing right now. And it goes back again to the fact that, listen, in 2019, where protests and demonstrations were building, started with La Colectiva Feminista, the feminist collective, to oust the governor, Ricardo Rosselló, and his entire administration, because there was 889 texts sent about folks that were LGBTQI, and then also like Carmen Yulín Cruz, that was not the governor, the mayor at that time. So You know what, Roland, you know where we're at, right? I mean, these folks are coming after us whether we're black or brown. It's not going to make a difference if any of us are like, oh, I'm a black Puerto Rican. No, I'm Taino. And these are good things. But if you don't have the politics, you're not going to understand that. And I also think, look, he's being who he is.
Right. I mean,
but that song, when you listen to it, it reminds me, honestly, of when I've watched documentaries of Africans in the United States of America that were trying to flee slavery, and the songs, the lament, the thing at the end. I'm like, nobody's done that. And he is like every young person who's a Boricua from 1 to 40 in this world. They're looking at everything he's doing as a political statement.
Hey, Joy, I remember, Joy, 2003, Beyonce performed with, and with Bruno Mars. And remember this here, just keep pull the audio down, but woo, MAGA lost their mind because all these black women had these berets on, and they were like, oh my God, she's paying homage to the Black Panthers. What do we do? Again, all they can do is complain about something because, Joy, they can't stand black and brown people. That's what they want. What they want is whiteness. They want Wonder Bread and milk at halftime.
That is right. Their artists are boring. Nobody is wanting to see them at the Super Bowl. If the NFL thought that it was in their financial and cultural interest to feature, some of the artists that you were laughingly mentioning a few minutes ago that, hell, I don't even know, they would have done it. They're pitching Bad Bunny because Bad Bunny is who people want to see. The NFL also is trying to be an international audience. I think you alluded to this earlier. They're not just trying to stay here in the United States, right? So they're trying to appeal to the entire world, playing games overseas, etc. So that is also happening here. They're saying that we embrace a multiculturalism that is already here. The NFL is lagging. They're not in front. These folks are already here. We've seen it with all the artists, and white people are watching and listening to these artists as well. This is not just about people of color, because we know they don't give a damn about us either. This is about the constellation of people who watch these games, want to see Bad Bunny, and I hope he brings it. And because he is politically and culturally and socially aware, we can expect that there's going to be some undercurrent here that's going to not just be about music, but is also going to be about transforming in a critical election year.
Randy,
I love that you said that because, Roland, I don't know if you know.
Real quick.
Okay, so I don't know if you know, so last night, a Bad Bunny song from 2020 was released on SoundCloud where he's straight being like, the police are killing black people, we miss Kobe, and there's white young men massacring people, right? So like, right now, from what I'm hearing from folks I know at those levels, they're saying the NFL might be thinking of even having him because of a song that we would see from any hip-hop artist that was political and black. We would see it from Talib and Dead Prez and all the amazing, like, more political rappers. And it came out and somebody just dropped that. I had never heard it. But once I heard it, I was like, oh, yo, Boricuas, look, right here, we at a whole different level right now because they're trying to erase us because their launching pad to invade Venezuela is here. And I guarantee you, in 10 days, they're going to try to invade Venezuela from Puerto Rico.
Here's the deal, Randy. Let's be real clear. The NFL is a group of white men, white women, except for one owner, Con, down in Jacksonville, who love money. They love money. These are some MAGA, Trump-loving, Trump-supporting, donating owners. And so let's just make no mistake here, okay? No one can be confused, okay? For everybody who's out here who's like, oh, Jay-Z's picking halftime. No, he's not. Jay-Z's recommending the artist at halftime. If you think for a second that Roger Goodell and the NFL office did not vet Bad Bunny and check everything out, you're crazy. And these owners, because I remember, with Kendrick, well, some owners, they weren't happy. Bullshit. When them ratings dropped, they were happy. You know why? Because the NFL, y'all, just in case any of y'all want to understand, DeMaurice Smith talked about it on the Breakfast Club. And guess what? The owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, he talked about it as well. He said it. The NFL practices socialism because that's what the NFL is. They actually share money. They share revenue. These owners know what they're doing. These owners are all about the money. They are about getting paid. They are about making more money. They don't give a damn if MAGA's upset because you know what they want to see? They want to see Latinos, brown people. They want to see them buying product. They want to see them buying jerseys. They want to see them buying beer at the game. And matter of fact, if y'all out there think that I'm lying, here's Robert Kraft on CNBC, and wait until you hear the white anchor stop him from talking about socialism. Listen.
Would I have believed in '94 when I played the highest price ever paid for any sports franchise in the world? We are now. And I never would have believed it, but, you know, it's a credit to my partners in the NFL, and Roger Goodell has done a great job leading our NFL, and we work, it's almost a socialist system of we're partners, and together...
Don't say that. Don't say anything good is happening with social, or else he's going to get more votes down here in New York.
No, but I mean that in a way. It's the spirit of, it's the most competitive business there is, how bad, what people do to win, but we're partners, and we have to come together.
See, Joe Kernan right there, Randy. Joe Kernan didn't want the truth being told. Hey, man, don't bring, we dealing with Mom Donna here in New York. Don't say socialist. But he's right. The NFL is the biggest sports league in America, $25 billion. They're the only sports league that competes with Jesus. Churches will shut down early on Sundays because folks are going to watch the game. So let's be real clear. The NFL, they ain't backing out of this here. They love the controversy because they want the ratings to explode. And you know what that means? That means that whoever has the NFL game is selling out of the ad units. It means that for Apple Music, which is now sponsor of the halftime show, used to be Pepsi, it's going to be even bigger. They know the streams, the purchases of Bad Bunny are going to explode before, during, and after the game. This is American capitalism, and they don't give a damn if MAGA is upset because they're sitting here saying, count the money, Randy. So they so-called hate DEI, but they love DEI at halftime, and they love DEI in the first half and the second half when it's making these white folks money.
Right. And
Hold on, Rosa. Randy, go.
But it is about making money. And what they get that seems like MAGA doesn't get is that they have to give the world what the world wants to see because they're in the business of making money. 13% of the population in the United States, first of all, speaks Spanish. That's what they don't want to know. And MAGA doesn't want to admit that, but the world is very diverse. Also, the NFL wants to expand across the world. I was just in South Africa, and NFL was advertising in metro stations. Also, what's interesting to me is how MAGA is so ignorant when it comes to who a U.S. citizen is. They try to make these points, but they do it from an ignorant place. Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen, but guess who wasn't? That Shania Twain, not a U.S. citizen. The Coldplay, not U.S. citizens. U2, not U.S. citizens. Rolling Stones, not U.S. citizens. All people who performed at the Super Bowl halftime shows before. They didn't have problems with them because they look what these ignorant folks think Americans or U.S. citizens should look like. But Bad Bunny does not because of the way he looks and the language that is his first language. And so all they're doing is showing their racism as they always end up doing. But the thing is, I've always told people, MAGA is divided into two people. They're the very rich ones, the billionaires, and then the very racist ones. And sometimes they are divided because the rich ones are not going to give into their racism and lose money. They're going to make their money. And that's exactly why that choice was made for Bad Bunny in the NFL.
Rosa, final comment.
I mean, I agree with what you just said. And I'm like, at the end, America's capitalism. What they don't see as the effective is that in my opinion, after Hurricane Maria and then 2019, Bad Bunny led the biggest protest in the history of Puerto Rico, $1.8 million. There's a lot of things to talk about us being a colony. And the last thing I will say that I appreciate, your audience is going to appreciate, in this tour, he recruited a faculty member at the University of Wisconsin. His name is Dr. Badillo. And Dr. Badillo wrote this. And fam, if you love Puerto Rico, don't get the navy blue. Get the lighter blue. Bad Bunny created his entire show on the history of Puerto Rico. If we align as American citizens, African-American citizens, Puerto Rico citizens, United States citizens who are treated as second class, we have always worked together and we're going to keep it moving.
Well, listen, I think to watch these MAGA people lose their shit is absolutely hilarious to me. And they're going to be yelling and screaming. I don't think for a second, I would be shocked if the NFL pulled back on this. I think they did all the vetting. They knew what was going to happen. They knew the reaction. But the NFL owners care about one thing, money. They will pimp any controversy. They will pimp anything in order to make money. It's as simple as that. That's how they roll. So we'll see. But there's nothing like MAGA and these maggots crashing out. Rosa Clemente, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, that's it for us. Let me thank Randy, Joy, and Rebecca for being on today's panel. Thank you so very much, folks. Again, like I keep saying, y'all, the conversations we have here, y'all ain't getting these conversations on the rest of these little networks. They ain't having these real conversations because you're going to see some stupid discussion with Scott Jennings and doing some dumb debate on CNN. You're going to see some silly-ass discussions on Morning Joe. We know there's going to be some lying on Fox News. But on all these networks, broadcast and cable, they ain't centering black people. That's what we do here every single day with Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's what we do with Greg Carr's show, Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin's show. That's what we see with The Other Side of Change, with Bria and Jamira. And we got a couple of new shows that we're working on. Y'all, bottom line is your support is critical. Because listen, these folks ain't dropping money on here. Listen, the YouTube charts came out again. We are the only black news show, the only black news show on YouTube's top 100 podcasts. That's it. We the only one. Everybody else black, sports, entertainment. You got Neil deGrasse Tyson, his science thing. That's it. We the only ones. We're the only ones on there. That's why your support is critical. That's why we need you to watch. And let me explain to y'all. We have the app. I need y'all to watch on YouTube because we generate more revenue there. That's what helps us pay for all of this, okay? So watch on YouTube, share our videos, spread them around, post them on your social, push people back to watch our YouTube channel because, y'all, this is about building this network out. I'm telling y'all, we launched on 2 shows. I'm working all day today. We got a daily midday news show coming. We got another weekly show coming from a bad sister. I cannot wait for us to drop those. We're working on the health show. We're working on the business show for 2026. All those things are happening because we understand. Captain Hughes coined the phrase years ago, information is power. And unfortunately, what we're seeing from African Americans and for so many other these sources, and I love sports, I love entertainment, but y'all, we gotta be informed. We gotta know what's going on. We gotta know who's running for office. We gotta know what they stand for. We gotta know about contracts. We gotta know about all these things. And so we are about providing that information to you every single day. So when we ask for your support, this ain't begging, because it's a deal. This is no different than having a subscription. We purposely are not charging people like a Patreon, $5.99, $6.99, $7.99, $10.99 a month. You go. And again, I ain't got nothing against everybody else. When I saw the New York Times article saying Joe Budden's podcast does $20 million a year, I would love for this show to do $20 million a year. Because you know what that means? That would mean I could hire 50 more people. I could literally go out and hire reporters, producers, writers. We can have full health care, dental, benefits. I'm just being straight up, y'all. What we have built in 7 years is something nobody else in black-owned media has done, and people told me this was going to fail. Folks told me I was going to lose my $350,000 investment in this year. Because see, y'all, the first year and a half, We had small amounts of money in YouTube coming in. I took $350,000 of my own money to make sure that our staff was paid. And we launched this show. We had one sponsor. We launched this show. That money lasted us from August through December 2018. Our folks never got paid late. Not one day, not 1 hour, not 1 minute, not 1 second. So the donations of our team has made this happen. And understand something. It's real simple. It's real simple. It's a whole bunch of other people out there that have failed. It's a bunch of mainstream. I tell you about the recount. They raised $32 million and they went bust in December 2022. And they launched the same time we did. They raised $32 million and lasted 4 years. And so, this is why it's important for you to support us. We're trying to raise $1 million, but it's important for you to support us. We're trying to raise $1 million between now and December 31st. We launched this effort on September 4th. We've raised $250,000 already. Your investment is important. We're 25% there. And I'm telling y'all, the stuff that we are playing is going to blow you away. New daily midday news show, another weekly show, a business show, a health show, plus we're completely retooling blackstarnetwork.com to be a news portal. What we are doing is what black people say we need, but we can't say we need something if we ain't willing to pay for it. Because if we're willing to pay for Starbucks coffee and bags and shoes and stuff along those lines, and then we complain about, oh my God, why didn't we know these things? It's because we're being force-fed sports entertainment all day. Oh, the right wing? Oh, they got Republican billionaires cutting them checks. Breitbart, Daily Wire, Daily Signal, Daily Caller, all these right-wing people, PragerU, all these people, they got right-wing billionaires cutting them 5, 7, 10. Listen, it was a Pakistani Iranian who gave $15 million to Tucker Carlson to start his company after he got fired at Fox. And Fox did to pay him off, he got millions. I ain't have millions after getting fired. Didn't have it. My point is, the stuff that we are playing, it's about educating and empowering our people. To support what we do, Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. See at the bottom left-hand corner. That's also for credit card as well. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check your money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Also, if you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, you can do so by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. T-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, you name it, we got it right there. The QR code's there as well. Just take your phone, open your camera, point into that QR code, tap it, boom, you're good. If you want to get our black-owned products, everything you see to my left right here. See these products right here, y'all? Okay, we got the car solution to clean your car. We've got juices. We've got relishes. We've got sauces. We've got workout products for your hair. We got skincare. All this, backpacks, black crossword puzzles, black-owned toilet paper. Everything you see right here, black-owned products. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You see it right here. This is the webpage. You see the T-shirts. You see the products. Keep scrolling. You see all of these things at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Go there right now. And don't forget, download the app, Fanbase, y'all. Download the app. That's a black-owned social media app. And so it combines Instagram, Clubhouse. They're going to be adding a feature like Twitter. All of that right there on Fanbase. Go to startengine.com/Fanbase. If you want to invest, $13.2 million is raised. The goal's raised $17 million. They're almost there. So if you want to invest, get more information. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.